Well, the very first one we're going to do, Richard will offer me his hand, and I'm just going to have you try to focus in on this. I'm going to do the outward wrist flex. So if it's his right hand, I'm going to reach across all the way with my left hand and put my thumb on top of his hand by his knuckles. So if he's grabbed me like this, I come across in this position. My thumb is on the top. I peel it off at this point. My elbow is locked in. I then cross my thumbs and reinforce it. Then I can apply pressure back to his elbow and do what we call an outward wrist throw. So as he grabs me, I can step back and grab. My hand reaches across. Then I have enough range of motion to trap it. I'm keeping my elbows into my center of gravity, my center of energy. This is called the obi, which is your belly button, where your energy store is. And everything comes back to the center. So in doing a nice outward wrist throw, step here, Richard would go straight down to the ground because I've created tension on his wrist. And when I do that, then I have tension on his elbow. Then he feels it in his shoulder, done. So to have it locked down, it takes a little bit of practice. If you twist this way, it's not good. I twist and turn back towards his elbow, which creates more pressure there, doesn't it? If you had to, you can reinforce it here for a more aggressive throw. So your outward wrist throw or manipulation is step back, reach across with your left hand, thumb on top, peel off, cross thumbs, make an X. Their little finger should go back towards their elbow, bring it in tight. And what I'm doing here with my weight is settling. They call that settling. So I basically sit down on his wrist as he's going down. If he had a knife, I could be able to dislodge it there. I could roll him onto his face for a rest technique. I could create a vice right here. Any type of technique there. So I'll be about half speed with Richard as he grabs. Get him down right here. I have him locked here. I can create an arm bar here, can punch here, and do a number of techniques that we'll do a little bit later. The second one will be the inward. He grabs the same way. It's a right hand grab. I reach across with the right. My thumb is in between his thumb and index finger. I'm peeling it off to the inside. I reinforce it at that point. I create pressure here on his elbow by pulling down. I can come across with an elbow or a forearm. So now I'm turning it inside wrist manipulation. Reach across, thumb in between his thumb and index finger, peel it off, reinforce it, come up, and you have a nice arm bar. Let me turn it this way here. Coming towards the camera, this way. Because you can see how I have him here. My thumb is in between his thumb and index finger. My elbows are locked in. His arm is against my chest, and I have a lot of leverage right there. If he grabs, I've been here, anywhere, in this area here, is grab and push it straight up. So when you go through the upward flex, he comes up on his toes. At that point, you can step over for any type of throw or joint lock. So the upward flex is pushing it off, pushing his hand towards his armpit, and then stepping under, keeping it nice and tight. Next one, if he reaches in here, low, I come halfway up to the outside, but I pull straight down. That's called the downward wrist flex. And all I have to do is hit it to roll him over onto his back. So basically, if you learn the outward flex, if somebody grabs you by the belt or something down here, you come back, you already have him pulled down here, and then you can roll him to his front and then to his back. A little slower on that one, the downward flex. Come halfway up instead of going all the way out, pull straight down, and then turn it out, and then guide him into your locks. So in review, grab please, outward flex, grab, inward flex, grab. Downward. And then upward. On the downward, I have to point out, you got to choke up right in here. You have to get part of his forearm, because this bends naturally, and you have to get part of the forearm in order to get that effect, don't you?
Yes.
So that's your 4 wrist manipulations. A windmill block, as you're looking at me straight, is kind of like this. It's kind of like a windmill, the blades on a windmill. And even though my hands are going big, the circle gets smaller. So basically, when something coming straight line, linear, I redirect it with this hand, and I move it away and grab it with this hand. So we call it a windmill block. You're actually parrying and then redirecting and grabbing if you can. So it's hard to come up and block and then grab with the same arm. It's virtually impossible, especially if somebody's throwing rapid punches. So the windmill block I'm introducing here is as you step, you block the straight technique coming, you parry it, you redirect it, and you grab it if possible. So using Richard's hand like this, his technique is coming straight. I evade it by moving, I redirect it away from my body, I then move it out, and then I'm able to grab it. So it's coming here, so I move it, redirect it, and trap it. So I'm blocking it, I'm just blocking it to the side, just enough to make it miss me. Then I'm redirecting it, then I'm able to grab it at best. So you'll see how I'm doing a windmill type of motion. If his hand stayed there, I teach a sensitivity drill like this. Block, redirect. Block, redirect. So I keep doing it, and not at any one point does your hand ever lose contact with his hand. So what started out to be a big circle becomes real small and quick. Quick, quick, quick. So I'm blocking it, redirecting it, and grabbing it. So after lots of practice, months, if not years of practice, you're blocking, you're redirecting and grabbing, you're able to block, redirect, and grab all in one motion. So I'm kind of introducing you to this windmill block now so you can practice. At the very least, you would block this way and move to the side. When I move to the side, that opens up the groin for the shot. I come in then at that point with the elbow right in here to the ribs and clear this arm and strike right to the sternum or solar plex. When this sequence here, it can be a grab, it can be a punch. I'm evading, moving to the left. I'm shooting a round kick into the groin. I'm coming in with the elbow here. This arm is in the way, so I clear it, and I strike right into the sternum or solar plex. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4. A little quicker. Block, kick, elbow clear, strike. All right, another common technique on the street, it happens almost all the time, is if you have hair, it can be used against you. If they have hair, you can use it against them. Once you grab a hold of their hair, you can control their body, their balance, and their angle. So you have to learn how to defend against people grabbing your hair. Let's say that Richard and I are engaged, or anybody's engaged, he reaches in and grabs hair in the front. Now if he holds me down in here, he can punch me, he can knee me, or whatever. He can hold me down. So what I'm asking you to do, and what you need to do is not try to pull away, because it'll pull your hair out, is to grab their hand and bring it towards your head. At the same time he's grabbing, pull, I'm stepping back, I'm bringing him straight down. From that point here, you can slide your hand around and peel their hand off, once I teach you how to do the wrist manipulation. So if he grabs the hair to try to grab it and to try to punch me, I'm moving back. And what I'm doing is I'm choking up on his forearm here. When I grab his hand, I'm grabbing part of his forearm. If I grab it here, it bends. No good. I'm grabbing this, and I'm pulling back. And then I'm moving him over. So to get his hand out of your hair, you have to step back and be aggressive, and then twist it out and peel it off. Nice, simple technique, but effective. Same thing from behind. If he's jerking you backwards, you have to stabilize your stance. I grab it to keep it from pulling my hair. I step under, just like I did the double leg takedown, and I'm out of it. And I'm back into that position. So the technique I just showed you against the grab, he's grabbing, I can step back and hit him, but I'm stepping under this way and coming up. So with the right hand, you can step back and hit, or you can step under and get him in that wrist lock and get right out of it. One of the most common techniques in a street fight is a side headlock. When people start wrestling and they're engaging, a lot of times people always get people, and this is called a side headlock. So Richard's going to get me in the side headlock. I'm going to show you some common defenses on how to get out of that. So he gets me in a side headlock. Basically what he's wanting to do is punch my face in. So the first thing I have to do is stop this. So of course your hand's going to come over and block, but what I'm trying to do is reach across the side from behind him and trap this hand in here. So your first job is, one, try not to get this, you can get this hand in and pull it, but you got to stop this fist from coming in. So my first objective is to trap his left arm. Once I have that, then I can go to work here. I can strike his groin. As I do that, I can pull out just a little bit, come up with this hand and rip his face back, and then strike him with an elbow on the way down. So once again, he's got me in the side headlock. He's trying to punch my face. I have to block and trap his hand. I counter at this point. Striking, striking. I try to loosen this up. I come over with this hand, rip his face back, and hit him with an elbow going down. One last time. I keep this hand up here until I can trap it here. Then I go to work. Punching, whipping him back, and striking all the way to the ground. Now we're going to go into some of the chokes, standing chokes. We do have a set of chokes on the ground as well, and that'll come a little bit later. First thing I'm going to do with Richard is he shoots in. He can either be trying to come into a double leg takedown or trying to shoot just to get me down, single leg or whatever, or we can just be engaged. Basically leading into this front choke or the guillotine, I'm going to have you manipulate. So basically off of the techniques I've taught you so far, if we're engaged, say I shoot an elbow, it's a perfect way to come back and wrap to bring him in to this front choke. And right now I only have half of it locked out. So if you can see, I have my forearm just up on his windpipe. If I bring my hand here, he's patting my leg, he's getting pressure on the back of his neck and also his windpipe. So I don't have it fully locked in, it's about half locked in. So if you can see the technique coming in here, we're engaged, doesn't matter how we get into it. I try to get into it from wrapping and coming under. I'm pushing here. I basically do like a crank. So I have him in this front guillotine. Now to do a full lockout, I put this hand on and lock it in here and squeeze it. So that's what we call a front choke. If he was to shoot in, we were grappling, a lot of times we come up with this from there. And we actually go back and flip on top of him. So just basically, fundamentally speaking, if he shoots or I get him, here, I'm just trying to get him in this headlock. So if you can see him from this position here, my right arm's totally around, and I'm creating pressure. In and up. Getting it full locked out is here. I put my hand on his shoulder, and I lock. So basically it's like this. Hit with an elbow, trap the neck, come around, and then place it here, and squeeze and bridge and crank. I do a little bit of variation with that because I do what we call a neck crank, where I lean way back on it. And get this, instead of getting this, I'm getting more over here on the front choke. Now we're going to be working on the rear to use. But basically, let's just get into the position first. So if Richard was here, go down on one knee if you will. Just the placement of the hands is what's important. Let's say I go around the neck. It's like a horse collar right here. Then I grab my own bicep here, and I can create compression with my bicep and forearm on his carotids and also on the windpipe. So on this particular choke, you're cutting off the air supply, and you're cutting off the blood supply, which is quite dangerous. It sometimes takes 3 or 4 or 5 seconds. The person should be unconscious. So the rear naked choke, some people do it here. If you go into the full one, it's here, military style. You'll notice that I have my left hand on my bicep and shoulder. I have my right hand on his neck to push down on. I use my head as part of a frame. Now what I'm creating here is a frame. This goes around. I have to complete the frame with my head. Once I squeeze with my arms and push forward, immediately I get some reaction from him. So that's basically, then this also is just a trachea choke where we use it in law enforcement where you're just putting pressure on the air and you can let go immediately. A lot of times when you put somebody into the sleeper, they will start struggling because they don't want to go unconscious. So the more they struggle, the more the person that applies it struggles as well. And sometimes accidents happen with this. But it's a very dangerous but very effective technique taught by military and police. So getting into that full choke, I could use him like in a situation, I could spin him around this way. I have him in basically an arm bar across the neck first, then I can come up into the arm bar choke or into the sleeper choke or rear naked. So also one of the things that we're doing here, right now my forearm is across his windpipe. He's not complying, so I come up to level 2, palms together with this one. If he's still not complying, I can go into this one, into the full naked choke. Against the full Nelson, if you ever get in one of these situations, it's very difficult. Generally what we do, we already have some distance. What we want to do as he's pushing down, creating pressure, I push against my own forehead. Go ahead and push down. So I neutralize his grab by doing that. I can try to move around and stomp and kick, but eventually what I want to do is move in behind him with my left leg, just like I did with the double leg takedown on the bear hug. Then as you lift them up, you're able to dump them over to the side and fall straight down on their chest. Now working on another technique, we're engaged. This can come off of a punch, it can come off of a slash or grappling. What I do here to pass is I come up with my left hand, I pass under so I can get to the outside and I shift out. I'm kicking the knee to make it buckle and go down. I want to draw him down. At this point, it opens up his back to me and I can come and grab his chin, or if he has hair, pull it back. So once again, we're engaged. I'm going to pass. Coming under, side blade kick. As he goes down this time, I'm going to shoot a knife hand to the back of the neck, right here. I'm going to pull his head back, hit him into the Adam's apple with my ridge hand or my forearm, and drive an elbow straight down. This is a situation that you intend to create serious damage to your opponent. It's a life and death type situation. So you gain the advantage of coming, blade kick, chop, come to the chin, windpipe, elbow, and pull him straight back. One last time, nice and easy and slow. We're engaged. I'm in my warrior stance. I slip to the side. I drive him to the ground. Hit the neck, hit the windpipe, strike the nose, and push him to the ground. From the punch, a grab, blocking, kicking, elbowing, clear, elbow, elbow as I step behind, chop, kick, right to the ground. Okay, another option, if we're already inside, when I finish up with Richard, I was here, the elbow to the solar plex and sternum area. Once I clear, if I step through, I have a kidney shot right here with the reverse elbow. I then step on behind, grabbing the collar, doing a strike to the back of the neck, kicking the back of the neck and back of the knee, taking him to the ground. So you'll see what I've done is work myself from the front to the rear. I'm going to go ahead and be on inside. I have the first strike here. I step, as I'm stepping back, I'm striking here, and I'm striking here. Now I'm kicking his legs out, taking him to the ground at that point. Now from here we're engaged again. I'm going to go into the standing triangle. So I'm going to slip to the side, like I've showed you before. I'm going to give him a jolt to the carotid area here, and now I have him into a side standing triangle. As I arch his back, I can take a sweep here if I want to, or if I just turn my body, he'll go to the ground. When we go to the ground, I then have a submission from here. Working on some rapid fire techniques. And rapid fire means that you're hitting vital and vulnerable areas of the body in rapid sequence. You're increasing your speed by relaxing and knowing what you're doing. So basically, against a punch, slash, or whatever, when you move inside, we're hitting hard, and hitting hard here. So your first three moves is evade and block, chop, palm, ridge, right to the groin. So you're going to the carotid artery or vagus nerve, right to the chin, then down to the groin. When I push his chin back, you'll notice his groin comes forward. If I hit his groin, his chin comes down. So everything I'm doing is setting up the next technique. The most important thing is move over here, strike, strike, strike. You'll notice his face has come down, which sets up my next technique, which is a rolling back fist right here. So I'm evading, stepping over to the right front, striking with a chop, driving back, striking groin, and then rolling up with a fist to the face. A little quicker. 1, 2, 3. Right in here. A little quicker. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Working on some rapid fire techniques. And rapid fire means that you're hitting vital and vulnerable areas of the body in rapid sequence. Instead of hitting just 1, 2, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're increasing your speed by relaxing and knowing what you're doing. So basically, against a punch, slash, or whatever, when you move inside, we're hitting hard, and hitting hard here. So your first three moves is evade and block, chop, palm, ridge, right to the groin. So you're going to the carotid artery or vagus nerve, right to the chin, then down to the groin. When I push his chin back, you'll notice his groin comes forward. If I hit his groin, his chin comes down. So everything I'm doing is setting up the next technique. The most important thing is move over here, strike, strike, strike. You'll notice his face has come down, which sets up my next technique, which is a rolling back fist right here. So I'm evading, stepping over to the right front, striking with a chop, driving back, striking groin, and then rolling up with a fist to the face. A little quicker. 1, 2, 3. Right in here. A little quicker. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now we're going to do a little combination with that. Let's say we're already inside, and I've hit the groin shot, and I've done the back fist. I'm now using the hammer fist. I'm moving in, I'm twisting my body, watch my feet. I'm shooting right in here. As soon as I go hammer fist, I'm straight up with that elbow. So I know if I strike his groin, his chin's going to be there. I'm coming up, then I can claw his face and hit him with a chop. So these are all open hand sequences. From the top, block, I'm shooting a chop, palm, and a ridge, back knuckle, then hammer fist with your elbow set up for your chop. All in rapid sequence. And once you do that rapid fire, that's over in just a few seconds. Working again with a two-hand grab to the neck from behind. Earlier, if you remember, I taught you how to step back and bring your elbows over the top to break the hold. Go ahead and go to the neck, if you will. This time I'm going to have you duck under. When I duck under, Richard's thumbs are not strong enough, his hands are not strong enough, hold on tight. I'm going to use my neck. My neck is real tight. If you can see his hands starting to release now, I'm coming straight in, hitting the back of the knees to a double leg takedown. So what's important here is that you are stepping back and across. I'm ducking under, and then I'm going through him with a double leg takedown where you can take him to the ground and then strike him in the groin or whatever you want to do at that point. One more time. So instead of going over the top, you're stepping back, going under, and going straight into your double leg takedown. You go through the man, lift him, drop him, and he's right there for you to strike. This segment is trying to teach you how to survive on the ground. Most fights end up on the ground. People estimate maybe 90% or more. I don't know who has the statistics, but most fights do. If somebody doesn't get punched hard or taken out with strikes, knees, or elbows, it'll go to the ground. There will be a grappling situation, wrestling, and so forth. So in order to survive on the ground, you have to be comfortable on the ground. The ground can be your ally. You got to learn how to use it. Also, when you're taking falls, if you're going to the ground, you got to learn how to break your fall to keep your body from getting hurt seriously when you're going down. So what we're teaching you in basic jiu-jitsu and aikido is the basic break falls. So the first one we teach, first thing I'll turn sideways, we always want, the general rule is always keep your spine curved like a rocking chair. And also when you go back, your head never touches the ground. So if your neck was to pop back and hit the ground, you could fracture your skull, and it could, kill you, of course. So the general rules is basically curve your spine and keep your chin tucked and your head up. At the same time, right before your spine hits on the ground, the palms of your hand will break the fall. So you're going to take all the shock of your body falling to the ground in the palms of your hand. At the same time, and it's hard to do, you have to relax. So you exhale, at the same time you strike the mat. And then you come right back up. It's kind of like a rocking chair. So you're going to start out very easily, hands crossed. As you let yourself back, you're going to be striking the mat about this point. Instead of stopping and dead, you'll continue to rock back, then come straight back up. So you want to totally relax, and you want to get the timing down here. And right back up. So if somebody shoves you down, you're going backwards, you strike. And then your body momentum rocks up. So I'm going to be a little more aggressive. I'm still sitting down, as you can see. I'm right back up. So this time I'm going to have you do a break fall, and when your legs go up in the air, you're relaxed. You're going to tuck your left one and come up into a kneeling position or a fighting position. So graduating from the sitting position, you can come up to the squat. You can cross your hands at this position here, let yourself back, break the fall, and then come back up. Now from there, I'll turn from the side. A lot of times you're thrown and you're going to land on your side. So as you come back, this time you're turning to your side. This leg will turn and you'll strike only with one hand. So you start in the squat position and you're doing what we call a left side fall. This hand comes up and the palm of your hand absorbs the shock. You notice my hand touches before my body. And you stay relaxed. Somebody's throwing you down, shoving you down, and do the side fall from that particular position. Graduating a little bit higher, you can come up into a standing position or a squat, kick your leg out, and do a nice left side fall at that point. From the kneeling position is the tuck and roll. So if you're going forward and you have to jump over something or you start to stumble and fall, you're going to learn to tuck your chin to your chest. can put your hands out this way or this way and roll a straight line into that position. So you want to keep it nice and tight down in the tuck position. You can place your hands down. You can look between your legs. You're going to come out on your shoulder and your legs will come up into the side position. Right there. And that's the basic back fall, side falls, and front tumble. Okay, we're going to be working on the judo sweeps, basic sweeps to try to get somebody off their feet onto the ground so you can use your ground skills. So once we engage, the very first thing I taught you in the very first volume was, the distances. We're engaged. We're in contact information. So we have to move forward. If you just step over to do an outside sweep, then he can do the same thing to you. So you basically what you have to do is get them off balance. Like the palm heel, you have to break the balance. You wouldn't want to enter. If they're as strong as you, you'll end up on the back. So basically what I would do with Richard or somebody bigger is I'd break their balance. Once this is broken here, the balance is back, I step across. And what I do is take calf to calf because his knee bends naturally. So I take his calf out. And they call this a sweep because your foot glides along the surface of the floor. And that's where the term sweep comes. So instead of lifting it up high, it sweeps. Sweeps. I'm doing two things here. I'm sweeping with the leg, and I'm also pushing down with my upper body, making his body go two different directions at the same time. So I'm entering. I also can't sweep from out here. I'm off balance. So I must close, be chest to chest. I have to be hugging him tight to sweep him. Then take him down at that point. Okay, we're going to be working on the judo sweeps, basic sweeps to try to get somebody off their feet onto the ground so you can use your ground skills. So once we engage, the very first thing I taught you in the very first volume was, the distances. We're engaged. We're in contact information. So we have to move forward. If you just step over to do an outside sweep, then he can do the same thing to you. So you basically what you have to do is get them off balance. Like the palm heel, you have to break the balance. You wouldn't want to enter. If they're as strong as you, you'll end up on the back. So basically what I would do with Richard or somebody bigger is I'd break their balance. Once this is broken here, the balance is back, I step across. And what I do is take calf to calf because his knee bends naturally. So I take his calf out. And they call this a sweep because your foot glides along the surface of the floor. And that's where the term sweep comes. So instead of lifting it up high, it sweeps. Sweeps. I'm doing two things here. I'm sweeping with the leg, and I'm also pushing down with my upper body, making his body go two different directions at the same time. So I'm entering. I also can't sweep from out here. I'm off balance. So I must close, be chest to chest. I have to be hugging him tight to sweep him. Then take him down at that point. So the second technique, entering it the same way, if I don't want to step across, which is a little dangerous, I'm going to use the left foot. I'm going to kick back this way and push straight back with both of my hands. Once again, we're engaged. I close in tight. I hook here and then push him down. So I have two forces going opposite directions at the same time, here and here. Right there. Now we're going to go into some of the chokes, standing chokes. We do have a set of chokes on the ground as well, and that'll come a little bit later. First thing I'm going to do with Richard is he shoots in. He could either be trying to come into a double leg takedown or trying to shoot just to get me down, single leg or whatever, or we can just be engaged. Basically leading into this front choke or the guillotine, I'm going to have you manipulate. So basically off of the techniques I've taught you so far, if we're engaged, say I shoot an elbow, it's a perfect way to come back and wrap to bring him in to this front choke. And right now I only have half of it locked out. So if you can see, I have my forearm just up on his windpipe. If I bring my hand here, he's patting my leg, he's getting pressure on the back of his neck and also his windpipe. So I don't have it fully locked in, it's about half locked in. So if you can see the technique coming in here, we're engaged, doesn't matter how we get into it. I try to get into it from wrapping and coming under. I'm pushing here, I basically do like a crank, so I have him in this front guillotine. Now to do a full lockout, I put this hand on and lock it in here and squeeze it. So that's what we call a front choke. If he was to shoot in, we were grappling, a lot of times we come up with this from there. And we actually go back and flip on top of him. So just basically, fundamentally speaking, if he shoots or I get him, here, I'm just trying to get him in this headlock. So if you can see him from this position here, my right arm's totally around and I'm creating pressure. In and up. Getting it full locked out is here. I put my hand on his shoulder and I lock. So basically it's like this. Hit with an elbow, trap the neck, come around, and then place it here and squeeze and bridge and crank. I do a little bit of variation with that because I do what we call a neck crank, where I lean way back on it and get this, instead of getting this, I'm getting more over here on the front choke. Okay, in this sequence, we're going to defend against a guy who's a street fighter, throwing a vicious barrage of punches, just really haymakers coming. If you can't block every one of those punches. You're probably going to get hit. And if you get hit, you may go down. And it's hard to do. You can either back all the way up. The only place you don't want to be is on the end of the punches. If Richard's punches are coming here, then I don't want to be here. I need to be either outside, backing up, or I need to be inside, where he can't hit me except the back of my head. So in this drill, what we're going to do, we have the attitude of, look, we can take one punch, possibly, without going down or getting knocked out. So even if he's doing a barrage of punches, I'm going to duck in. My head's going to become a weapon because I'm going to hit him right there in the chest as I'm getting ready to get into a side control. So what we're doing is we're covering. We're taking some of these hits. We're smothering. We're slipping to the side and getting a side control to break his balance right here. No matter what he does in here, I let him off balance. So the first three things we do is cover, block a little bit, smother, get in tight, break his momentum, slip to the side, turn around a little bit here. You'll see I'm right on his hip bone. I'm just below the center of his gravity, and I'm breaking his balance towards me. Because if he's straight up, he's strong. But if he's offside, then I can take him down. Cover, smother, slip to the side. And here's my takedown. What I'm going to do, once I get him neutralized, he's maybe squirming, trying to hit me. He's wearing his stuff down. I'm going to take my left foot, and I'm going to sweep this leg through this way, turn him, and go into the ground with him. I'm going to then mount and be ready to do whatever I have to do from this position. One more time. Cover, smother, slip to the side, take down, mount, ground and pound if you have to.